Hey friends, do you like a good hard-boiled egg but hate messing with having to peel these silly little things? Well, peeling hard-boiled eggs is one of my superpowers. It doesn't matter whether they've been in your refrigerator for a day, a month, or you put salt in the water, or any of it. Stay with me, I'll show you a method that I've developed over the last few years that's almost foolproof on getting them perfectly peeled every time. And I can do a dozen of them in less than 3 minutes. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Richard. This is a little bit of everything. And as the name suggests, today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different than what I've done in the past. We're going to be talking about, as the thumbnail suggested, boiled eggs. I've been eating hard-boiled eggs for 30 years, and over those years I've developed many different ways to peel them and get them peeled correctly so that I can enjoy them. But one of the things that I always kind of disliked a little bit about a hard-boiled egg was the center and how brittle and dusty that it would get, which was great for when you're making deviled eggs because you want to be able to mix it up. But when it comes to just actually eating the egg, I never really was a huge fan of that. And then I had this nirvana moment several years ago where I had somebody tell me that, well, you know, you don't have to boil them into dust in order to enjoy them. And which made sense because if you go into a restaurant, you'll see, you know, people like their eggs yolks runny. I don't want a runny yolk when I'm eating a boiled egg, but I like a softer, creamier egg. And as a result of that, I started doing a little bit of research, and turns out you don't have to boil them until they're, you know, like I said, dust. So what I've done is I've provided a chart, and I'm going to show you that chart here. The chart indicates that there are different amounts of time that you can boil your eggs. It shows 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7, 8, 9, 10, and to get a different result on your egg yolk. So when I started doing that, and I started doing my own experimenting to see what the time frame is that I really enjoyed, I found what I felt was a really good time, which was somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 minutes. But there's some things that I need to talk to you a little bit about quickly before we get into the actual video of me peeling the eggs when it comes to that time frame. But every single oven that you use is going to yield different results. I mean, I don't care what you say. When I moved into this house, this is all gas. And the process that I used on my electric oven for creating boiled eggs, when I would try that same process here, I yielded a different result. So not much different, but I did yield a different result. So you may want to do some experimenting. If you decide that you don't like your boiled eggs boiled to dust, then try one of these different time frames to get a different yolk and just kind of experiment with it and see if there's something that you like a little bit better. There are people that will swear by putting their eggs in the pot, then bringing it up to boil and setting a timer, and then they're done. My method is where I bring the water up to a boil, and then I put the eggs in, I set a timer, and then I'm done. Like I said, there's a myriad of ways to do it. You have to figure out which method works best for you. I've come up with a method. I'm going to walk you through how I get my eggs boiled. And then, once I have them boiled, I'm going to put them in a tub, a dozen of them, and I'm going to show you my method for peeling the eggs, which is nearly foolproof. 99% of the eggs that I peel doing this method come out perfect. And I can do a dozen of them in less than 3 minutes. Okay, so what I have in here in front of me are the pans that I use when I boil my eggs. And I want to reiterate something here. I said on my opening that it doesn't make any difference whether your eggs are a day old, 4 weeks old, or any of those old wives' tales you heard about putting salt in there or oil in the water. None of that made a hair's bit of difference to me when I was experimenting with doing this. But this process that I use to peel them is what changed everything for me. So let me talk first about the pan that you need to use when you boil your eggs. You just need to make sure that you have something deep enough to cover every one of the eggs when they're in here. I usually do a dozen at a time, and this pan works great. And I fill it up twice the height of the eggs that are in there. So there's no question that those eggs are going to be boiling in the water. One thing I forgot to mention, and I'll mention quickly, when you take eggs out of your refrigerator and put them directly into boiling water, you're going to subject some of those to cracking. So I know that Probably some of you have seen the white stuff that floats to the top, which is just the cooked egg breaking out of the shell. One of the things that you can do to try to help prevent that is get them out of the refrigerator probably about an hour or an hour and a half before you're planning on cooking them, and set them out on the counter. Let them start to warm up. I know that there's a phobia in the United States about making sure everything's refrigerated, but I will tell you that the United States is one of the few places in the world where they keep their eggs in the refrigerator. I've traveled abroad for my job. I've gone all over Europe and what have you. And most of those places, even in the households, they'll have a basket of eggs sitting up on a counter. Normally that's because they go through them rather quickly, but they don't refrigerate them. So bringing your eggs up to room temperature before you boil them isn't going to hurt them at all. Now, that still doesn't completely eliminate the possibility. You still may have an egg or two that will crack and leak some stuff out of it. Having said that, it really is minimized by trying to bring that up to room temperature. While those are boiling on the stove, I take a second bowl. I fill it halfway up full of ice, fill it up with cold water, and then I set this in the sink. This is very important so that when you are done boiling the eggs, when your timer goes off, you need to immediately get them into this ice bath. And the reason for that is if you just take the eggs out of the hot water and set them in a pan somewhere, they're going to continue to cook. There's an overcook that goes on. It's just like the reason why I pull my chicken off of the grill at about 158, because it'll continue to cook for 6, 8, 10 more degrees. Same thing with eggs. If you just take them out and set them somewhere, they're going to continue to cook. You want to get them into an ice bath right immediately, and that will help minimize the amount of time they'll cook. They'll still cook for 30 seconds or a minute, but that will almost completely stop them from cooking so that you get the desired result, the end yolk that you want. Once they're in there, I usually leave them in the ice bath for about 10 minutes. And then when I'm done and I'm ready to peel them, that's the process you came to see when you clicked on the link. Then I'll show you that process as soon as these eggs get done. Okay, here we go. First things first, I'm going to get the water going here, and I'm going to try to get it as hot as I can. Okay, the water's pretty hot. I'm going to go ahead and fill the pan. The reason I try to get the water hot is it just helps the process of the heating on the stove be shorter. If you got hot water in there, it heats up a lot faster. If you have a question whether or not you have enough water in there, just drop an egg in gently. Make sure that it's completely covered. And as you can see, there's a good 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of water above that egg right there. So then that boils, it's going to raise the water level as well. Okay, let's get this pan on the stove. There we go. Let's get this turned on to high. There we go. All right. Now, while that's going on, let's get some ice in this bucket here. And I'll fill this, about 30% full. And once I put the eggs in the boiling water, then I'll come back over here and I will pour cold water into that. And so that ice bath is ready for when the eggs get done. So as you can see, we got a rolling boil going on here. I've got my dozen eggs. I've added 3 extra because I'm going to be demonstrating the process of how I peel them for you. So I need those extra ones so that I still have the dozen I said I could do in less than 3 minutes. So here's the process. So what I do is I load my ladle up here with 4 eggs at a time. And then I just quickly drop them in. And I do it this way because I don't want the eggs to drop into the bottom of the pan. I'm going to try to eliminate every opportunity for them to crack open, which I can see one of them already has. Alexa, set a timer for 9 minutes.
9 minutes, starting now.
There they are. They're in the pan, and in 9 minutes, I'll show you what the next step is. As you can see, that one right...
I don't have an answer for that.
Please shut up, Alexa. That one right there cracked. So, but that happens. It does happen. It happens almost every single time. At least one of them will. So as you can see, the eggs are boiling rapidly. The next step is to get some ice water in here. So I want to make sure my water is cold. 3/4 of the way, half to 3/4 usually is enough water in here for all the eggs that I normally do. I've got my strainer ready in the sink so that when I bring that pan over, all I have to do is strain those right out into that strainer and then immediately dump them into the cold water. So I'll show you that. As soon as it does, here we go. Alexa, stop. All right, that quickly, right into the ice bath. I hope that you got all of that. So we're going to let these stay in here now for about 10 or 15 minutes until they're really cool to the touch. And then we'll get to the peeling challenge. Okay, so it's time to demonstrate to you my egg peeling process, the one that I told you is nearly foolproof. So the first thing that I do is I take all the water out of this bowl, or as much as I can get out. Now, I have a couple extra ones in here. You can see this one. This is one of those where it opened up, so I'm not going to count this one since it's already cracked. I'll set it aside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 eggs in there. So with this egg, I'm going to show you what the process is. And then I got a timer set up here, and I'm going to set that timer to start, and I'm going to peel all these eggs in less than 3 minutes. So here, let me show you what I do. So this is the process. I got to have a spoon. It's right here. So I make sure that the water's on. I don't want it too cold because my hands are going to be in it, so I try to get it lukewarm. And then I take this egg, this spoon, and I crack the shell all the way around. Okay? You can see that that shell is cracked all the way around the egg. Then I immediately put it underneath the water and I peel open an edge. And when I do that, the water gets underneath there and peels it away. Just that quick. That's how quick you can do one of those eggs and peel it. And you see it's perfect. There's no issues with it. I didn't lose any of the skin. Now I will say that there are occasions when one of the eggs might get stubborn, but 98.9% of the time, this is what the eggs come out looking like. So with that being said, I promised you that I would peel a dozen eggs in less than 3 minutes. So let's get it set up. Hopefully you can see this timer here. And I'm going to, on your marks, well, let me get the water going. On your mark, get set, go. Notice how that water just pulls that shell right off the egg. Now I'm doing this fast, but you don't obviously have to do it fast. That water just, the pressure of that water getting underneath the shell just pulls that shell right off of the egg. It doesn't put up any kind of a fight. And obviously it's taken me a while to develop this technique so that I can do it quickly. But again, just break the shell all the way around with a spoon. Takes no time at all. I've seen other people that will put these into a jar and roll them around back and forth and basically do the same thing. But I mean, this has been the quickest technique that I've found. Yes, I do use a little bit of water here. A whole lot less than if I'm taking a shower or something like that. But I look at it this way. It saves me a ton of time, a ton of frustration, and allows me to get to the point where I want to get. So yeah, check that out. And I believe that's it. Whoa! A dozen eggs, actually in under 2 minutes, 1 minute and 57 seconds. So let me show you these eggs real quick. Every one of them are peeled. As you can tell, they're not clinking against the metal bowl, so you know that they've all been peeled. That's a dozen eggs peeled in less than 2 minutes. I said less than 3. I guess I did a little better this time. So now let's cut into one so that you can see exactly what they look like on the inside. Okay, so you've seen me peel all those eggs. You saw me do it really quick. And let me just say this. The whole purpose of this demonstration wasn't really to show you how quickly I could peel these eggs. That really wasn't the idea. The idea behind doing this is just kind of take some of the frustration and aggravation out of doing a task that should be simple, and for whatever reason it's really not that simple to a lot of people. The whole idea, I guess, was to let you know that there's a way that you can do this so that you can cook these, peel them, and enjoy them without having to spend a bunch of time fighting the egg itself to get the peel off. So with that being said, I want to show you one last step that I do before I store these eggs away. So I like to put a paper towel down, and then I like to take, and by the way, that's the egg that got the top kind of came out of it. Anyway, it's still good though. I take these eggs and I lay them down here on this paper towel because they're obviously wet from being in that water. And, I'll kind of roll them around so that they get some of the water off of them, and then I'll take another paper towel and just kind of dab them, and then put them in my storage container. Now obviously the reason that I do this is these will let water go, and I don't like to have a whole bunch of water sitting in the bottom of the pan that I put them in, but I keep them in a glass bowl with a lid, and I put those in the refrigerator. The last step to this process is I'm going to cut into one of these and show you the yolk. So let me move this cutting board here so that you can see. I'm going to cut into this. See, and I want to show you that yolk. You can see that it's a little bit creamy on the inside, which is exactly the way that I like it. It's not going to break apart like a yolk that has been overcooked would. And I say overcooked because I don't like them that way. Some people like them that way. I don't mean to disparage you if you like them that way, but this is cooking them at a less temperature. And like I said, refer to that chart to give you some idea of where you would like to go as far as the type of yolk you would enjoy. And if you think maybe that you would like a yolk that's a little different than what you're used to, give one of those times a try. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. That is so good. That yolk is so creamy. With that, I'm going to end this video. I really hope that you learned something here, something you can take away and try and implement yourself. I'd be very interested to hear what your techniques are and how you do it. I would, obviously I would love to learn something from you as well. Leave me a like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought of this video and if you enjoyed this content, and I'll continue to keep putting these out. So without any further ado, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Richard. This is a little bit of everything. Have a good day, and God bless.